Hello everybody, welcome to the talk show about internet startups and everything that comes along with creating a kick-ass business. Thanks for tuning in also online. Use the hashtag F6Show to get in touch with us and our beautiful guests. So here we are today from an office, yes, because we do that every month, the office of Allswang, and they're really kick-ass lawyers. And they sponsor me, you know what I mean? So, we're in their office, drinking their beer, and we're eating some pizza and using their office and also an amazing rooftop view because we're here on a rooftop. And this is not like any normal rooftop where you say, okay, I'm looking down, seeing the cat of the neighbors. No, this is really a view of Berlin. And you see the Berliner Philharmoniker, you see the Sony Center, and even if you look around the corner, you can see Alexanderplatz and the famous Fernsehturm. Yes, we're here in Berlin doing a show about internet startups and that are actually getting a lot of traction here in this city. Yes, it is actually happening here in Berlin. So use the hashtag F6Show to communicate with us. I'm going to introduce to you now my first two guests on this show. And I mean, they're guests that I wanted to have for quite some time. I approached them also a long time ago, and now they're here, finally here. So, ladies and gentlemen, please let me introduce to you Schuyler Deerman of Moped and Lydia Benkö of Corporate Finance Partners. Yes, so let me tell you something about these guys because Schuyler has an app. It's a messaging app and the name is Moped. And you're now also seeing some screenshots of this product online when you're tuning in online. And this allows you to send private messages over Twitter, maybe later on more platforms. We have to know it. He has to tell us later if we're going to use more platforms than only Twitter. And Lydia Benkö is at and now I have to, of course, say it directly. It's kind of a financial service boutique shop. It's being described like this. And she is an advisor there at Corporate Finance Partners. Yes. So, guys, very welcome to the show.
Thanks
Yes.
for the invitation.
Yes. You like it so far?
Yeah, it's perfect.
Yeah. And why is it perfect?
So there are a lot of people from Berlin, so a lot of startup people, and it's always good to have them all together.
Yes. And Lydia was actually a little bit worried because a couple of seconds ago she asked me, do you have actually any idea what I do? So this is, of course, I mean, and I said, yes, actually, it's not that clear to me what you do. So maybe this is now a chance for you to explain what it is exactly that you're doing.
So actually I was just wondering because on this paper which is like hanging outside, there is written like Lydia Benkö, she's a venture capitalist at Corporate Finance Partners. That's just maybe halfway true. So I'm working with Corporate Finance Partners, that's like a small mergers and acquisitions boutique, but the leading one for internet deals and everything related to internet, and yeah, that's it.
Some deals that you were involved in, part of the team, you sold Daily Deal to Google, Brands for Friends, acquisition by
eBay.
Yeah, that was a long time ago. You already also did that?
Yeah,
yeah?
But that's not so, it's maybe 1.5 years.
Yeah, okay, but 1.5 years in startup life. I mean, a
Yeah,
lot can happen. And also
so
the
last one was the capital increase from Macquarie and Lieferando.
Aha, okay, yeah, that was the 50 million round for Lieferando Lieferservice.
Yeah, so I can't state
all about the numbers.
Millions,
We're not interested in the numbers. No, startups don't look at numbers, no. Well, some do. We'll talk about that later. And you also did the Kaufda sale to Springer.
Yeah,
so
actually
there I was
these part of it, yeah.
Yeah, so these are actually pretty big deals, right?
Yeah.
And what did you learn by doing all these deals about, you know, how startups work in such you know, in that transaction phase?
Yeah, so startups, I think, what did I learn? So I think what's always the same is that there is like a lot of chaos when it comes to numbers. So I think every startup needs really to take care to have like all numbers correct and in place and ready. So I just today came from a meeting where I was supposed to go to the notary next week, but we will not go there next week because just no number fits to the other. And so that's, I think, one learning every startup has to take care. So from day one, have your accounting ready, manage your accounts, and then I think just wait for the right point in time and do your exit.
Okay, so who was this company again that you were visiting today?
No, I can't tell you.
Okay, yeah, okay. No, you're right. Don't do that. Okay, Schuyler, you received some investment not that long ago from pretty established guys. Early Bird led the round, local here in Berlin, moved to Berlin, but also BetaWorks and SV Angel were involved in giving you around $1 million, right, to develop Moped further?
Yeah, so we raised $1 million from also Lara Ventures in New York City joined the round as well.
Yeah. So I mean, this is pretty amazing. How did you get in touch with these guys?
So I have an angel investor in New York named Jeff Pulver, and Jeff goes pretty far back with John Borthwick from BetaWorks, back from when John was involved with AOL. And Jeff made an introduction to John actually at the time that Jeff was raising money for his own company. And John and the team got pretty excited about Moped, and we decided to work together.
Because you're an American, but you're already living for 6 years in Berlin.
Right.
So how do you maintain such a network that you can, call these guys and have this network?
So I've known Jeff since I was like 17 years old, right? And so this is like almost 10 years, or like what, 7, 8 years I've known him, maybe since I was 16. And so having known someone that long, like, and coming over, there's a big difference than getting to know Jeff once I started Moped.
Yeah, but not everybody has a chance to get to know these people when you're 16, 17, so how come? How did you meet them?
So, well, the story with Jeff used to run conferences in the US, and I worked at a software company that attended these conferences, and we were one of the big spenders at the conference with sponsorships. So me being the only 16-year-old at the conferences, got a chance to meet Jeff when I wasn't, when the bouncers weren't letting me into the parties. So that's when you need the clout of the guy throwing the party to get into the party. And so Jeff and I got to know each other that way.
Okay, so, and I mean, what tips can you give to young entrepreneurs, when they don't have this background of being that early on involved with these kind of guys, how to get going, how to get an angel investment, basically?
So, I mean, I knew my angels before I started Moped. So I probably don't have good advice on how to get to the angels. But if you are looking for investment, I think the key is to focus on your product and then find people that are passionate or interested in solving for the problem that you're solving for, or building the product that you're building.
Okay. So, and Lydia, because I mean you're not exactly on the other side, but I mean you meet a lot of people who want investment. What are your tips? How to, as a young founder, get in touch with people like you or other people that maybe can provide you with enough oxygen, to survive on for the next 6 months.
So maybe just one thing to add. So we started like as an investment bank, but realizing that we've made so many entrepreneurs to millionaires, we've decided to raise our own fund. So therefore, part of my job is also doing some venture capital, but we have like a dedicated team for that. So, and I'm working on the other side of the fence. But what I would recommend each founder is like having like a straight idea, very focused, have like a very good complementary team, and then just go to conferences where you have the right people there and have just your pitch ready within like 30 seconds. And this is the time where you have to persuade the people, and then the rest will come.
Yeah. Okay. And what mistakes do you see? What kind of mistakes do you experience a lot that are being made in these kind of situations?
Yeah. So that's hard to say. Like there is not the one mistake, but I think the founders need to be focused on what really their pitch is. So sometimes even me, I'm receiving like slide decks of like 20 pages, and I go from page 1 to page 20, and I do not even know what the company is doing. And I don't know what the company is really looking for. So for how much money, for which kind of network, or things like that.
Yeah.
So be precise in what you want, and then persuade the people.
I mean, you come across to me like a very straightforward lady, right? Talking about the numbers, talking about focus. Is this typical German? Is this typical you, or is this just, is it the way it is?
Yeah, so on conferences, you don't have that much time to talk about more details. And it's good when you come straight to the point, people will remember what you have told them. So, and that is important. You need to be like recognized.
So it's just the way it is. This is how it's been done.
This is how it's been done.
Okay, thank you so much, Lydia. Yeah, I mean, I'm just checking. Very good.
You need a good idea, you need a good team, you need to have a good pitch, and you will get the money.
So let's drink beer now and stop the show, because that's all there is to it, or?
So the best deals you do always with a beer.
Ah, okay, yeah, we'll make the deals afterwards. Okay. So Schuyler, you're doing a messaging app, so to say. It's a super crowded space. I mean, you have like WhatsApp, a lot of competition. How do you position Moped?
Yeah, so the main thing that we do, that we focus on in differentiating ourselves, is connecting messaging to other applications. So, for example, if you send me an article via Moped, we can push that from Moped to a read later service. You can drag and drop files into Moped with Dropbox. We just rolled out a Foursquare integration that lets you drop any location nearby into a message, so you can coordinate really easily. And if you take all that and kind of blow it up, that's kind of where we're going, and just making messaging more a part of the web.
Yes. But now it's only with a sign up on Twitter.
Yeah.
And I hope that some of the guys of the tech blogs are now also watching this show, because Schuyler is now going to tell something about his future plans about integrating into more social networks. So Schuyler, now we have only Twitter. What will follow after this?
So Twitter, the whole reason we focused on Twitter in the beginning was because we thought that was the best place to go for early adopters who would get our service, who'd be willing to try it out, such that we could get to the point where we could finance the company to build out what we really want to build. We're now going to be rolling out with other networks, so Facebook integration is coming quite soon, so you can sign up, connect your Facebook account, and pull all your friends from that, as well as the address book on your phone.
Yeah. So and LinkedIn will follow?
Maybe. Different countries have different networks that are important there. LinkedIn is certainly important in the States. In other countries, you have other social networks that we'd want to tap into. We look at the networks, the social networks, as address books. And so LinkedIn was certainly put in that category.
Yeah, and a different question is, of course, also how are you going to make money? I mean, maybe it's a boring question for a lot of entrepreneurs in this phase, in this early phase, but I mean, where can you place advertisement, in these messages? How are you going to make money out of this, as such beautiful idea?
Yeah, so I think that building a sustainable business is important. Instagram is the exception, not the rule. It'd be foolish just to focus on users and not think about business model. But whatever business model we implement, we'll need lots of users. And so we're at a phase right now in the company where we're just focusing on growth and not really talking too much about
okay, yeah, okay. I understand this answer, but I mean, you have thought about how to make money, right? Or not?
This would be a question.
Yeah. So I explain it like this. So we just hired someone in San Francisco, and we were talking about how to answer these questions when journalists asked, and the answer that
only for journalists. Well, that's
answer,
not the main target group. I can tell you, you need investors who ask the exact same.
Well, that's different. But so Adam kind of responded to me with the question, and he answered the question, and he said, "Look, I got accepted to Harvard, went to Wharton, did McKinsey and Bain. I didn't join the company because I didn't think it could make money." So I think that, we do have some ideas, and it's something that we talk about some, or we internally, but not something that we talk about externally. But I will say that, our whole thing is connecting messaging to other applications on the web, and there's a lot of value that that we're bringing users and that we're bringing these other services when we fuse everything together. And so you can imagine different types of business models around that.
And on the other hand, I mean, your investors have a lot of experience also with instant messaging, right? So they invested, so they obviously also see the potential.
Yeah, so they've done deals like GroupMe in the past. Several people have been involved with AOL and AIM and ICQ. Eric from Lara used to sit on the board of Yahoo, which of course had a big play in mail and Messenger. So we've got a lot of people in the mix that understand messaging really well, have been very successful with messaging, and we're pretty excited to be working with them.
Yeah. Lydia, this week in the news was that in London, the stock exchange, because I mean, the company is based in Frankfurt, is going to make it easier for smaller technical companies to IPO, so to go to the stock exchange and to collect money on the market. I mean, you cannot compare the situations in London and in Frankfurt, but what do you see for like technological driven companies, to IPO? What do you see here on the horizon?
So at the moment, I would say it's pretty hard to do an IPO. So just look to America. All the IPOs are.
Is that bad? Is that a bad thing?
No, it's not a bad thing. So there are other ways to get liquidity. So in terms of a trade sale, for example. But what I definitely see, just looking from a macroeconomic perspective, is that you like private person can't put their money, for example, in bonds anymore. So the liquidity needs to go somewhere, and there will be a point where it makes no sense to go to invest, in stocks of the big ones. And I think there will be rising liquidity for like tech indices or for like smaller segments of the market. So it might make sense to think about an IPO in the future, but it's really future and not now. And then you need to have a company that is not just big in terms of revenues, but a company that is also able to produce profits. So you need to have like a proven.
And how many
business
Berlin companies then are there suitable for an IPO?
There are a couple of.
2? Maybe 3?
Yeah, so some are developing, but for sure you need to have like a proven model. But there are some businesses where I think there is some IPO potential ahead. Yeah,
so can you name one? Zalando?
Yeah, Zalando will definitely do an IPO, that's for sure. So that's, who should buy it? It's so big already. Mm-hmm. And in the advertising space, so especially everything that relates to real-time bidding, so the Xenox 3.0, more or less. There might be some potential here in Berlin. I don't know what Wuga will do in the future. That's also like a large company. Yeah. We will see.
So social games on Facebook. Last question for you, Lydia, because we have Berlin Gigettes here, the Women in Tech debates. You're a woman in tech. What's your opinion on how they present themselves? Do you think it makes sense, to put an emphasis on being a woman in tech, or do you think it's bullshit?
It's bullshit. It's bullshit, but I think you need to promote women in tech because there are just not enough women. But so the whole concept, I think, is a bit bullshit. Maybe that's a bit hard, but I really think so. Men and women should be like treated equally, and I just can encourage all women here in Berlin to found their own companies and to be just entrepreneurs and take the risk.
So can I here on stage invite you to the next Berlin Gigettes to have a debate with them about this statement?
For sure. Yeah, for sure.
We have that settled. Okay, thank you Schuyler Deerman and Lydia Benkö for this interview. Give them a hand of applause. So this